A love triangle ends in disaster. The year was 2009 and it happened in West London.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Dr. Senay, and here I am with a story about
A vicious love triangle which ended drastically and totally tragically as they usually do. Lakhvir Singh was a married woman, a mother of three, of Indian origin, was living in West London. She was bored and unhappy with her marriage. She wasn't at all getting along with her much older husband. She was a sad, frustrated woman. Guys, being a mother, I am somewhat worried about how these women cannot sacrifice more of their urges and focus on being good mothers and build a good home life with security and love for their children instead of looking for love with all kinds of men they come across. Well, guys, that's my opinion. Opinions differ. I respect all other opinions on this too. A married mother of three looking around for an affair? Distasteful. I think it's repugnant. I think that. Lakhvir Singh came across Chima, a fairly good looking, much younger Indian cleaner working in her area in West London. He had been about 24 years old then. Now, Chima had been married before, but his marriage had failed. Chima needed a place to live and soon found Lakhvir's family that offered him accommodation and food for a very good price. Lakhvir is said to have been an attractive woman, and it took no time for them to start an affair right inside her marital home. Her husband knew nothing about this passionate affair, which went on steadily until Chima had saved enough money to buy a place of his own nearby to Lakhvir's. The affair continued, and Lakhvir was besotted with her lover and came to his new place to cook and clean for him every day, and then go back to her home as if nothing had happened. Guys, she even had a key to his new home. And this dark secret continued for over 15 years. Her devotion to Chima, her lover, was undoubtedly overwhelming. She found him irresistible and could imagine no life without him. She had fallen pregnant to Chima twice or more times and terminated each pregnancy at Chima's request. There was nothing in the world she would not do for her precious lover Chima. Now, guys, by 2008, Chima was reaching his 40th birthday and was facing loads of pressure by his family in India to get married and start a new life. I'm sure no one knew of this illicit affair other than Lakhvir and Chima themselves. A well kept secret, hey. Chima was gradually opening to this idea of having a wife and thought it would be a good idea to marry a young woman from his own culture and start a family. His parents introduced him to 19-year-old Indian woman Gurjeet, who was young and very pretty, and Chima wanted to marry her. He offered her to come and stay with him, so they got to know each other better. Chima and the new wife to be Gurjeet fell in love. Lakhvir was enraged. She had gone through several abortions to please him. She had waited on him, hand and foot, and been his lover, his maid, his servant, his everything for 16 years. She wasn't going to take a no for an answer. She wanted Chima to send his new wife to be Gurjit away. When Chima said to Lakhvir firmly that he was going to marry the young woman, Lakhvir even suggested that their affair continues despite Chima getting married. She insisted she wasn't going to go away just like that. Guys, Chima wanted to break off with her cleanly, and he said to her that he wasn't going to be involved with Lakhvir anymore. Lakhvir was very angry. Yes, very, very angry and desperate to get back at him. Lakhvir absolutely hated the new girlfriend, and when she had seen them together in their bedroom, she had threatened to burn down his house. Lakhvir tried all kinds of threats, but nothing worked as she realized that Chima did not want to have anything to do with her anymore. So, Chima was gone. Lakhvir was furious, fuming, distressed, and filled with cold and absolute hatred for Chima and his new woman, Gurjit, to a point of wanting revenge to destroy both of them. A scorned woman, they say, is lethal. She felt used and thrown away, just like that. However, guys, we cannot blame only Chima for this situation. She brought it on herself. What was Lakhvir thinking, having an affair with this man and still being in a marriage and cheating on her husband for over 15 years? She was a mother. There were three kids she needed to focus on. This wasn't going to end well. Did she pause to think of her three children? Well, I don't think so. Let me remind you again, guys. She was a mother of three. Her husband was at that time battling cancer. Anyway, her toxic emotions helped her put together a murderous plan, a deadly scheme. I'm warning you guys that this is quite graphic and could be upsetting to some viewers. Lakveer went back to India for a short stay, specifically to put her plan into action. She got a deadly poison called Indian aconite. It's a plant that grows in North India, I was told. It's a herb used by traditional doctors over there in tiny doses to cure drastic illnesses. Used in high doses, this plant could kill. Lakvir did her homework and managed to get the deadliest variety of this plant species, as it is said to have a few varieties. I must remind you guys at this point that I have already said that she had a key to Chima's house. The couple, Chima and Gurjeet, was going to be married in February, and Lakvir was determined to stop that from happening. Lakvir came back to England from India in December 2008 with the plant we talked about and decided to carry out her deadly plan. She discreetly added some of the poison into the food of the young couple. This was in December 2008. Gurjeet and Chima had eaten that food and they were inflicted with very painful symptoms, suffered terribly, and they were hospitalized. The doctors were baffled as to what the reason was for this very painful and disastrous illness. Chima and Gurjeet were very ill and spent weeks and weeks in hospital, but were cured of all symptoms. They came back home, and life was continuing for the young woman and Chima. Lakvir sadly realized that the dose was not large enough. So, guys, the trial run of Lakvir's poisoning effort was over, done. Now she was ready for the kill. Lakvir came into their home on 27th January 2009 when Chima and his would-be bride were out. Lakvir, consumed with hatred, went to their fridge. She took out a dish of leftover curry and laced it with a large dose of the deadly poison. Guys, Lakvir knew how fatal this dose of poison was going to be. She left the dish in the fridge and left. She was a woman on mission. Murder. The young couple came home for dinner. Gurjeet had some of the curry. Chima had two large helpings of it as they were having dinner and discussing their wedding plan. Within an hour or so, guys, the couple began to feel those death like symptoms again. This was more horrific than ever. Chima's face was bloated suddenly and had gone numb. His internal nervous system started shutting down. He still had time to pick up the phone, luckily, and telephone his sister before he collapsed after vomiting profusely and moaning in pain. Gujrit was also vomiting profusely. Chima's sister came there immediately with her sons and also called emergency services. The two victims were so weak they had to be carried into hospital. Chima's condition was deteriorating fast. He lost his vision a few minutes later. The doctors thought the whole situation was really unusual as they had not seen anything like this before. Chima's organs were not functioning and he was not breathing properly and was seen to be suffocating. And a few minutes later, Chima was dead. The poison unit and the police got involved. The forensic toxicologist Dennis Stanworth was given in charge to help identify the poison. Since there were some leftovers of their last meal at home, the investigators decided to send those samples to the lab. Meanwhile, Lakvir, who was known around town as a close friend of the couple, was questioned. Guys, Lakvir had not even washed her clothes or destroyed any evidence or made any attempt to take steps to not to be linked to the crime. She must have been so confident. The police found packets of a herb like substance in her coat pocket and more packets in her handbag. All this was sent to pathologists who identified the poison and the toxic contents of the curry that killed Chima. Guys, there was some good news about Chima's fiance, Gurjeet. She was still fighting and had managed to cling on to life by a thread, as she had eaten only a small portion of the curry. My research indicated that not many poisons cause numbness like the way Chima suffered, and immediate loss of vision. The toxicologists closed in on the notoriously deadly plan that had been used to kill Chima and put Gurjeet on death's door. Lakvir was arrested around 4 or 5 years after the attack. Lackfield stood trial at the Central Court at the Old Bailey. She was accused of first degree murder of Chima, attempted murder of Gurjit. On 11th February 2015, Lackweed was sentenced to life. Her family, her children, her ailing husband must have suffered so much.
Thank you for watching, guys. That's it for tonight. Good night.